Welcome back to the Gaming Historian. When we last left off, Masahiro Sakurai, under heavy stress, had completed Super Smash Bros. Melee, a game many consider the best in the series. But all was not well. A rift had grown between himself and his employer, HAL Laboratory. He left to form his own company, Sora, and no one knew what would become of the Super Smash Bros. Series. However, an old friend of Sakurai's was about to make a surprising announcement. It's 2005, and Satoru Iwata, Sakurai's former boss at HAL, is now the president of Nintendo after taking over for an aging Hiroshi Yamauchi. At E3 of that year, Nintendo announced the Wii and along with it, the desire for a new Super Smash Bros. Title. Sakurai watched from the audience, surprised by the announcement. Super Smash Bros. Was his creation, and no one had approached him about a sequel. Later that day, however, Iwata requested a personal meeting with his old friend. He wanted him to once again take the reins and develop this latest sequel. There were complications, considering HAL Laboratory had made the previous two games, but Sakurai accepted, saying, "I had no choice but to do it." Thus began the creation of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. For development, Nintendo rented out an independent office that would concentrate solely on the game. HAL Laboratory provided all of their data for Melee, and Nintendo began hiring a team of developers specifically to make the game. A majority of the developers came from the studio Game Arts, who had just wrapped up Grandia 3. Overall, there were about 100 people developing the game. It was to be the biggest Smash Bros. Game yet. Sakurai wanted Brawl to show off the technology of the Wii, much like Melee showed off the technology of the GameCube. Online play was going to be the highlight, along with new physics and textures on the characters. Sakurai also wanted to make the game a little easier. He felt Melee was, quote, too difficult, and he disliked how competitive Melee matches became, harkening back to the days of 2D fighters in the arcades. The team's most difficult roadblock came with motion controls, the standout feature of the Wii console. How would Smash Bros. Use it? Ultimately, Sakurai made the decision to not fully implement motion control. He felt it would, quote, get in the way of the game. The development team, however, did find a way to integrate motion control in the end, although it was minimal. Players would be able to shake the Wii remote to do a smash attack. Sakurai wanted to expand the character roster as well. Hideo Kojima finally got his wish, and Solid Snake was included in the game. The biggest inclusion, however, was something fans thought they would never see. On the game's official website, fans were allowed to vote on which character they would love to see the most. The overwhelming vote was Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega's answer to Mario during the console wars of the 90s. They would now be able to fight each other in Brawl. After numerous delays to improve the game, Super Smash Bros. Brawl was officially released on March 9th, 2008 in North America. According to Nintendo, it sold 874,000 copies on the first day, and 1.4 million copies in the first week. It's the fastest-selling North American Nintendo game in history. Super Smash Bros. Brawl received universal praise, but many hardcore fans weren't happy with some of the new features. What do I think? Well, I really like Brawl. From a casual perspective, Brawl adds a ton of extra stuff while keeping the core gameplay fun and addicting. Let's start with the single-player mode. Nintendo added a new Subspace Emissary mode, which is a full-fledged single-player game, complete with story and platforming stages. It's a much better single-player mode than the one on Melee, which felt kinda rushed. There's also the classic mode where you battle various characters and ultimately fight the Master Hand. Brawl also brings back the Stadium mode, which has the target levels and home run contest. One feature that they brought back from Melee are events. These are challenges to complete which unlock stickers and trophies. These are actually a lot of fun and is yet another addicting part of the single player. Speaking of unlockables, Brawl is chock full of them. Stickers, trophies, characters, and stages can all be unlocked. You can even play trial versions of classic Nintendo games the characters are from. One thing I do like is how you unlock new trophies with the coin challenge. It's no longer just a lottery, but an actual shooting game. You'll go through coins quickly playing this. But of course, the greatest part of Brawl is multiplayer, and everything is back plus more, including tournament mode. The character roster has also been expanded tremendously. Unfortunately, the online mode was very restrictive and laggy, and I say was because Nintendo is no longer supporting it. Online play was a serious letdown. especially after Sakurai stated it was one of the highlights of the game. So from my perspective, Brawl is a natural evolution of Melee, but why did some gamers not enjoy Brawl? Well, Brawl's gameplay is a bit slower than Melee, and some of the physics of the game have been changed. There's also tripping in this game. Sometimes your character will just trip while running, which is really annoying and slows down the game even more. All these changes were implemented to make the game more easily accessible to gamers. However, it completely killed the competitive scene that Melee brought. Gamers even released a mod of Brawl known as Project M, which removes all of these changes and makes the game more similar to Melee. Even with those complaints, you can't deny that Brawl was a great game, and a huge success for Nintendo. The game has sold over 11 million units since its release. After Brawl, Sakurai returned to work at his company Sora. He walked away from Brawl pleased, feeling that a sequel would not be necessary. He felt Brawl was the most complete Smash Bros. Game he had made. But gamers wanted more. Melee was too competitive, and Brawl was too casual, and people were looking for a happy medium. At E3 2011, Nintendo had announced their new console, the Wii U. Their new handheld, the Nintendo 3DS, was brand new to the market. Satoru Iwata, president of Nintendo, then delivered the news everyone was hoping for.
What Mr. Sakurai suggested then was a specific idea to make Smash Brothers for both Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, to make it work together on both platforms.
Sakurai was once again named director, and his company, Sora, worked together with Bandai Namco to develop the game. He fully immersed himself into overseeing the development of the new game, despite developing tendinitis in his right shoulder. It left him in constant pain, unable to use a standard mouse. He rented a home near the development studio in Tokyo to keep himself within walking distance of work. Every day after lunch, he would play 4-player matches to look for balance issues and tweaks that could be made. Sakurai was looking to find the balance between Melee and Brawl. Sakurai said, quote, "It's supposed to be a fun game for a wide variety of people." With this new iteration of Smash Bros., the primary focus would be on the two different versions for the 3DS and the Wii U. The other new feature would be the use of amiibo toys. Players would be able to purchase amiibos, scan them into the game, and fight against them. Sakurai stated, "I really like the idea of being able to provide new ways to play." On October 3rd, 2014, Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS was released to critical acclaim and has sold over 3 million copies worldwide to date. A month later, on November 21st, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U was released, and quickly became the fastest-selling Wii U game ever. While I would love to talk about both titles, I'm going to focus on the Wii U version. To make it short, it's the best Super Smash Bros. Game yet, and I do think Sakurai was able to find the balance between Melee and Brawl. There's no more tripping, the speed has increased, and the online works really well. The character roster is the biggest yet, and features some fun new additions like the Duck Hunt Dog, Mega Man, and even Pac-Man. Every character is pretty well balanced, and none of them seem completely overpowering. There's a new mode known as Smash Tour, which is like a board game where you have to assemble fighters on your team and complete fights and challenges. Personally, I'm not a fan. You can play single player or multiplayer, but I just don't find it very fun. There's also a new mode called Special Orders, where you can gamble some money on challenges. It's a risk-reward type of game. Earning trophies has also changed. Melee had the slot machine, Brawl had a minigame, but in this Smash, you have Trophy Rush. Players exchange coins for time and must destroy as many crates as possible. You can also buy trophies in the store, although it's not nearly as fun. But the heart of Smash lies within its multiplayer, and Smash for the Wii U stands out. You can now have up to 8 players in local multiplayer, which makes for some insane battles. The online multiplayer works much better than the Brawl version ever did, and it's much easier to find a game. Another standout feature is amiibo support. Basically, you buy these figures in store, scan them onto the Wii U gamepad, and the game creates a custom fighter for you that you can train, level up, and customize. It's a neat feature, but I do wish you could actually play as your amiibo, rather than it being CPU controlled. So after 15 years of the Super Smash Bros. Series, what happens next? Masahiro Sakurai was 28 years old when he first began work on the Super Smash Bros. Series. Now at 44 with tendinitis in his shoulder, he admitted that Super Smash on the Wii U may be his final game in the series. Quote, "I can't positively declare there won't be another Smash Bros. Game. With both Melee and Brawl, I made those games with a thought that there wouldn't be any more sequels. Thus, I really can't deny the chance for another. However, as for myself, I don't think there will be." I think we can all agree that Sakurai's decision to make the game back in 1998 was one of the best decisions he ever made. Regardless of the future of the series, Super Smash Bros. Is now a staple Nintendo franchise, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. That's all for this episode of The Gaming Historian. Thanks for watching.